What's up, everybody? I am Marcus DeAngelo, and I'm joined by my slapdick brother, Dominic DeAngelo of WrestleZone.com. And guys, we are two deuces, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Two Dynamite dudes
Swear.
with attitude. Let's go. Boy, oh boy, Dominic, what an episode of AEW Dynamite. Before we get there, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. I'm doing good. It's AEW. I thought it wasn't as good as Blood and Guts. There was some aspects to enjoy about it, but there's also some aspects to criticize, I will say too, a little bit. Do you agree?
Yeah, of course. You know, there's always something to criticize, but you know, let me say, dude, they've really stepped up their game. Like this program is getting better and better all the time. I'm thrilled to watch it every week. It's like I'm honestly psyched about it.
Yeah, and we should note we are live, so get in on the conversation. We see the numbers here piling on up, so come on in and mosey on in. Enjoy me drinking out my Jeff Jarrett cup.
Dominic, what's with the accent? That's stupid.
Why not?
It's almost as bad as that headband you're wearing.
Is it because it's Pirates or just this headband?
It's because it's the headband. I love the Pirates. Nick Fund is asking, when will Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston get the upper hand?
When will they?
You know, it's kind of like the old WCW model, right? Where it's like, you know, the NWO just kept abusing everybody on the roster for basically 2 years nonstop, just like getting them over and over again. And they were supposed to get the big blow off with Hogan and Sting, and they just trashed it, which, by the way, is why it's going to be a very good reason for you guys to check out our other podcast, which we'll be going live for tomorrow at some point. And that's going to be WCW Rewritten, where I started that podcast, Starrcade, or that pay-per-view, Starrcade 1997, and I rewrite WCW, make it better. And so far, so good, right, Dom?
Yeah, it's been really good. Very entertaining. You've incorporated some talents that were underutilized, whether they were in WCW or not in WCW. So pretty cool. It's been a very fun show. This will be the 13th episode, I think, coming up here.
Yeah, we've been at it for a while, but enough shameless plugs, Dominic. Everybody's here to hear about Dynamite, and let's just jump right into it. And I'm jumping in with both feet on this opening match, dude. I don't know when was the last time I was so pumped up about a match, but like seeing like Yuji Nagata come to the ring got me super excited. But then maybe even more so, Jon Moxley coming out to Wild Thing.
Holy shit.
I was just like, let's go. Like, I was so pumped up about this match, Dominic. We got a little of the old throwback vibe with old Yuji Nagata in there, who's still a badass. And then, of course, Jon Moxley coming down. What did you think?
Dude, I'm all right with you, man. I was so amped up. Extremely cool seeing Yuji Nagata back in the fold with Tony Schiavone announcing him. But you'll not only have that, but yeah, you mentioned it. The fucking Wild Thing coming out by the Trogs. Holy shit. Like such a cool, it added, gravitas to it. And it was really made it feel all the more special. I'm curious, is he going to keep that theme or was that just a one-off?
I don't know. I hope he does because I just think it's cool.
Yeah, it's so old school. Like it's super old school.
It is. And like, let me tell you, Dominic, that's kind of exactly what I liked about this match was it was an old school match. Yeah. You know, like we had very limited stuff going on outside the ring. Mm-hmm. But then all of the real action happened in the ring and they were telling a story in the ring. And dude, it was something else. I also thought it was interesting. You know, Nagata was working as a babyface and Moxley was working as a heel.
Yeah, that's true. I think there's a lot to, coming in with Yuji Nagata, I think it's just him having the veteran presence and all that kind of thing just kind of made him like built to be the babyface in this bout. But like either way, I was very hard hitting. But yeah, you're right, like old school. And what a way to start the show off. Like just in general, it was very, very well done. And like the match didn't overstay its welcome whatsoever either. I thought it was paced out very well. And good finish too.
And dude, Nagata, what a pro, right? Like start to finish throughout that match. I mean, like he always finds his spot. He was very aware of where the cameras were at all times. The guy got his shit in, and it looked great. It's what is he like 54 or something? He's
53, I think.
He's still just killing it. Honestly, unquestionably, Jon Moxley's best match to this point in AEW, and I don't think it's close.
Oh man, I'm trying to think. That's a good question, Marcus, because I'm trying to think of other matches. He had that great match with Brody Lee. He had, oh man, I don't know. The match where he won the title was really good though too, wasn't it? Like where he beat Jericho.
Maybe, but like I think Yuji Nagata is a better worker than Jericho is right now. It was Dominic. This match just came off like $1 million. They didn't need any tope suicidas or any excessive outside the ring crap. It was they just told a great story. They worked really snug.
Oh yeah, you can tell by the end of the match.
Right. I don't think that they were stiff necessarily, but certainly snug, and they were protecting the business. Just two pros kind of at their best.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. It was an awesome way to start the match, the night off. I honestly, between this and the main event, I think these were one or the other was the match of the night, and I don't know where you're leaning on that, but maybe this leads into the next topic, eh?
Well, yeah, sure. Let's just jump into the main event.
Do you have anything else to say about?
No, by all means, why don't you just host the damn podcast? So yeah, no, the main event was something else, dude. Great entrance for Miro. Like when he came out and he was like, he did his like jump out, and then like the pyro went off and stuff. I was like, this dude looks like a badass.
Yeah.
It was quite something to see. Absolute beast of a man. And I'm just hoping he's finally on track here is really what it comes down to. Like Darby kind of called him out a little bit before the match where he's just like, what are you? Like, what are you doing is your thing? Like you're into video games. It's like, thank you, Darby. That's what we love.
Yes, Darby.
Appreciate you listening to the podcast, Darby. That's nice. But it was a unique match. To me, it felt like
Marcus, I'm having a Falls County over match between the dog and the cat right now. I got to set up Rosa right now.
That's all right. I'm going to go ahead and keep it rolling.
Okay.
I thought it was a really unique match because when it first started, it seemed like Miro was just going to squash him, right? It seemed like they were leading on that storyline where it was about Darby getting pushed down the stairs. And so Miro's like this big, tough opponent. So I was like, oh, okay, it's just going to be a squash match and we're going to get the title off of Darby Allin. But instead of making it just a squash, they made us think it was a squash. And then Darby Allin comes back and it's like, okay, Darby might actually win this match. Like he was starting to hit a lot of his offense, and like, Sting is on the outside. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe Darby's going to win. But ultimately they made the right decision. It was time to move on with the TNT title. It's time to start giving Miro the push that he deserves, because he is one of the best workers in AEW. I think he's a really polished worker. I think his mic skills are improving by leaps and bounds. And like, dude, you can't pay to have that look.
No, absolutely not, Marcus. And we talked last week too how we were like kind of hoping the match would be quick, like almost a squash, like a glorified squash match, because like Darby got beat up real bad, last week. And so
did you hear what I was just saying while you were gone?
Little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying in a nutshell. Was like I was expecting this to be just a squash and them lean on the storyline of, oh, Darby got pushed down the stairs and he's coming up against this monster. But like Darby made it seem like he might win. Like he started like fight back. So like, and especially after initially the way the match started, where he's just getting ripped apart. I was like, okay, they're just getting the belt off Darby. But no, he put up quite a fight, and it was a really interesting, unique match. It's a format I haven't seen in a while, so I thought it was cool.
So our big thing too, and like you mentioned, like Darby's like promo beforehand and what he said there, isn't it like, how much does that wash away anything with our previous transgressions of Miro, like, our previous criticisms moving forward? If they stay on this track, Marcus, how do you weigh that out ultimately as Miro, as not only an impression for ardent fans, but an impression for like casual fans that are, kind of getting back in the fold? Or maybe the debut of Miro was their first impression of Miro. How do you weigh that all out in this landscape here?
I think he's redeemable. Darby said it 100% correctly, where he was, like I said, it's thanks for listening to the podcast, Darby, because you were saying everything that we were saying, which was like, he's directionless. Like, he's got this stupid gimmick. He plays video games. He's Kip Sabian's friend. That was his gimmick. But now it's like, okay, now we're moving in a direction that's actually interesting. Is his gimmick I'm guessing that the argument right now might be like, well, so what's his gimmick now? He's just like a big tough guy. And the answer is yes. Like that's all he needs to be is
At this
him.
moment in time, he just needs to be a killer, man. Like,
Right.
and like
Right.
now he can have a chip on his shoulder too because people were criticizing him for that.
And
Like,
look, like it's a simple formula, and it's the same formula that worked when Bruno Sammartino was the champion. And that's that you build these guys who look like absolutely unstoppable forces. Like these guys, like and Miro's the perfect guy for it. You build this guy to look like this unstoppable force, this unbelievable presence, and then you have somebody like let's just say Cody. You have somebody like Cody challenge him, and then it's like, who the hell is going to go over? I got to buy this pay-per-view. Like that's the whole idea is like, can Cody beat this guy? Like this guy's an absolute monster. He's been tearing everybody apart that he gets in the ring with. Like, and Cody's going to step in there with him. Is Cody just going to get completely torn apart? And that is what sold tickets when Bruno Sammartino was champion. It's what's going to sell tickets now. Like, you can have all the fancy crap you want. You can have all the tope suicidas and all of the backstage crap that goes on storylines. But when you get down to like the nuts and bolts of what sells tickets in professional wrestling, that's it.
yeah, man, it's like you just have this world beater of a dude coming in there and like having these threats for like some viable baby faces. And then I think ultimately, until you get the right one, until you have him going on this monster roll, you keep the belt on him, you know?
Sure.
I think it only adds to that too. And I think, him unseating Darby, and then Darby, I don't know if you saw the promo that Darby cut after Dynamite, where he basically was like, he told how much the title meant to him. Like that was his world title, basically, is what he said. That also adds to the weight of that title and what that title means, because somebody could have the world title, but the TNT title could mean just as much as the world title.
Yeah, and that's the other thing where they're setting themselves apart and kind of acting like an old school promotion where it's like, look, this is not just like a prop. This belt means something to the people who are trying to get it. Obviously, it means something to Miro. He had it on his tights, where it's like he really wants this belt and he got it. So I don't know, man. I wouldn't mind seeing Miro be like this unstoppable force where it's like, okay, nobody can get the TNT title off him. Is he going to capture the AEW World Championship while also carrying the TNT title? Like, I would love to see that. Let's see him be a double champion and like, who can knock me off the top of the mountain? Come get it.
Yeah, you know what? Here's something that we can mention here is like, it seems like Lance Archer might be the one maybe going for that spot with Miro, maybe. And you know what? It leads into something really intriguing where like we talked about this before too, a couple weeks back, was like what I talked about. Like, I like Lance Archer a lot as a babyface, but like something Jake Roberts is just the perfect like manipulating heel to have. What if you have it's Archer versus Miro at Double or Nothing, and
Jake
Roberts,
jumps over to Miro.
Yeah, Roberts ultimately screws Archer over and joins with Miro.
I would love it. I would love it. That would be great, especially because Miro, he's a good talker. He's not as good as Jake is. So why not make Jake like a mouthpiece for him, and maybe actually help to polish some of his skills. So yeah, Ben also asked a little bit earlier, Samoa Joe coming to AEW. We talked about this. I think it was last week or the week before. I don't really remember.
I think it was like 2 weeks.
Yeah. But how about him? Imagine bringing him in after you make Miro this unstoppable force, and then it's like, okay, this guy might be able to stop him.
Yeah, he'd be perfect to go up against him like that,
Yeah.
And
also,
at
Dominic,
that point, you have that time to build Miro up more and more as like unbeatable monster too, where it's like you reestablish his reputation. I'm 100% with that.
a little bit earlier, Bit Milligan asked a question that you and I ourselves asked. Will that be Moxley's new theme, or was that a one night thing? I hope it's his new theme. Or here's the other option, Dominic. How cool would it be to see that with like a big match theme, like when he's coming out and it's like he means business. This is something really significant. Then that's his theme.
Yeah, that kind of like the face paint with the Santana and Ortiz, or Finn Balor with the Demon. Marcus, before I forget, I made a poll on Twitter earlier this week and asked, like, Darby, what a run, first off, he had as the TNT champ. Like, and now you look at it and, like, they built a star out of Darby Allin. Like, and Darby Allin built a star out of himself, but like AEW putting the title on him and having him go on that run helped it for sure. Mark, so the poll I'd made, I'm trying to get to it. Oh, here it is. So I have, can you still see me, by the way?
I can.
Okay. So this is the poll I made. Darby Allin is one of the best baby faces in wrestling. At the very least, and this is my opinion, at the very least, top 5, and at the very most, number 1. Where do you rank him and why? And so I gave 4 options. I didn't put he's not in the top 20. I kind of wish I would have, just to get some to get a gauge of where like people might have put him there. But this was a really close poll, Marcus. It was like, so ultimately the top 10 won out by 31%. Top 5 was 27%. Top 20 was 28%. And then top 3 was in the 14 percentile. So really close, like yeah. So like basically top 15, but people would put Darby as a top babyface in all of wrestling. Where do you rank him at?
So I actually participated in the poll.
Oh.
I selected top 10, Dom.
Top 10, okay.
Like he might be number 10, but he's in the top 10.
Now, who would you rank above that?
I mean, I'm not going to give 10 people, but like I would say Cesaro. I love him. Cody Rhodes, both members of FTR.
FTR's not baby faces, Marcus.
Oh, the top baby faces?
Yeah.
Oh, well, come on, man. Get that bullshit out of here.
You read it wrong. I put
but I was saying top 10 in the business. Just
no. Read the fucking poll.
Okay. Hey, fair enough. But no, it's I mean, I'm in no particular order. It's those
okay,
are a lot of
Mark.
people.
Well, here it is right now. So now that you know what the poll is, where do you put him higher out of top 10? Or do you put in baby faces, or where do you put him at?
Yeah, I think he's got to be in the top 5 then. If we're just talking baby faces, yeah, he's got to be, has to be. Now I'm thinking of it. Who's a more believable baby face right now? The thing with him and his size is that it puts him in peril. Which much like Ricky Morton, makes him an even greater babyface.
Yeah, no, Marcus, and that's why I even consider him like top 3 or maybe even number 1 because of that. Not only have like you look at it, all these different factors coming into play for him is like he is like an anti-hero, like not Stone Cold, but Stone Cold-esque, where it's like, oh, he's that cool like anti-establishment guy. You want an outlaw in wrestling like that. Okay, he's not as big as everybody else. Now that people could say that's like not perfect for your top star, but it also gives you that underdog factor. So like you look at somebody like a Daniel Bryan or Rey Mysterio or somebody like that. Darby Allin has that aspect to it. Plus, you look at like the match, the kind of work he does in the ring too. Overall, like he sells so well, he can get beat up. It's like there's a lot of really, really good aspects to take from Marcus. I'm putting him in top 3, I think.
Dominic, I've got to say, as far as number 1 spot is concerned, there's nobody, in my opinion, anywhere close to Cody Rhodes. As no, Cody Rhodes is the number 1 baby face. Nope, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes could be the number 1 baby face. He's the sort of guy who, if for the rest of his career he was a baby face, it would be perfectly fine. Just because he's got it. He has absolutely everything. And by the way, this is a perfect transition, Dominic, because dude, what a remarkable promo by Cody Rhodes.
I wanted to get your take on that. I liked it a lot too. I thought there was, a lot of people like, did you see Twitter? You got some reception all right for it. You didn't see what wrestling Twitter was going about?
No, I imagine people criticized him crying or something.
Well, some of that, I think, him kind of like taking the slant of like having like, a biracial child and stuff like that, and certain aspects of that, where it was like,
why can't he talk about his biracial child?
I don't know.
I think that's silly for anybody.
Also, I think the fact like, people were taking exception to like him being pro-America in regards to it being like, okay, this is kind of like an old hat kind of gimmick.
He had a British flag draped over him. That's why it makes sense.
No, Mark, I'm with you, man. I don't think it's like that big of a deal. Like, and I think what he said, like, dude, you know me, like, I hate politics, and what he did to start off was he trashed both parties. Like, he says we needed like a 3-party system, basically, and I'm like all for that. I was like, you got me a babyface promo right there, starting off at the bat. But it's
Yep.
like, dude, I thought the promo was fine. Like, I thought he did a good job, and like, you know, I don't think like people were saying like it was tone deaf and certain things like that. I don't agree with that really,
A
man. Like,
ridiculous assessment. Look, like when you get down to the brass tacks here, the promo flowed well. It made perfect sense. All of it made sense because, especially the part where he's leaning on like this America versus Britain thing because he had a fucking flag draped over him, and he's like his dad was the American dream, and so he turned that into a thing. It's like I'm not just gonna be Cody Rhodes. I'm not gonna be the American Nightmare. You're gonna be in the ring with the American Dream. And it's like beautiful, like perfectly put together. Also, really nice Bruno Sammartino reference in there.
yes, I forgot about that. That was awesome. You know, I'm for that.
Cody Rhodes could be the best promo in pro wrestling. You could certainly make the argument, and absolutely the number one babyface in pro wrestling.
I think too, Marcus. People are blowing little things out of proportion when it comes to like stuff. From how 2020 treated everybody across the globe, not just in America, but how America was a huge focus in all the, political and societal things from, everything coming into play, which like a lot, obviously all this stuff, there was a reason for stuff like whether it was like, you had the Black Lives Matter movement, which is so big and impactful and important. And then you had like just all the other controversy, like the political controversy where, and it's not just in wrestling, it comes into everything. It's came into everything that we live by, like, or try to enjoy for an entertainment purposes. So like sports, it became a part of sports. It became a part of everything. I think it is a touchy subject at this moment in time, but Cody's promo was, I think the intention was to bring everybody together in a lot of ways with it.
Thing is, when it comes to pro wrestling, politics and news, like anything that's newsworthy that's happened, it's always played a role in professional wrestling. We could go way back, but I think the most notable instance is Sergeant Slaughter deciding that he was going to be anti-American right in the middle of Desert Storm.
Yeah.
Right. So it's this is not a new thing in pro wrestling to bring up politics and to take a stance that's a cultural reference, like what going with the times. So I was a fan of it. I thought it was fine. John Davis, he disagrees. I thought the promo was cringe. Look, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everybody's got things that they like. I hate Tope Suicidas. I am so sick of seeing it. If I never see one again, I'll be as happy as a pig in shit. But I think that most people, at least a lot of modern day wrestling fans, are really into it, and they wait for that moment in the middle of every match. And so, like, hey man, it's different strokes for different folks. John Davis, I respect your opinion. I'm sure the good people at AEW do as well. But I'm fine with things that I don't like being on the program. But let's make it a little sampler platter, right? Like, let's have a little something for everybody.
I think, and that's the thing too, Mark, is like, I think some people, maybe there was he referenced a date wrong or like got something wrong with the civil rights movement or something to that effect. Don't hold me to that. I don't know. But man, I think that the intention of the promo was pure and well intended. And I thought like, Cody delivered it in his fashion where it was like it was, he set it up for, a feud with a Go-Go, and where, he's trying to put a Go-Go in the heel role of that. And I don't know, man. Like, I thought it was an effective promo. I understand maybe where like the societal things can kind of like weigh down on it because there's been so much weight of what, America means to everybody at this point in time and what the flag stands for at this point in time. It means a lot of things to a lot of different people. But at this point, like Cody's intention for that promo was, hey, we're all Americans and we all get together. Like that's the pure intent is like, and then, hey, okay, you know, this might be like an old hat kind of thing, but hey, we're going against Britain right here, you know, in this regard. So I like, dude, I was fine with it. I thought, you know, I thought ultimately it was good promo, and yeah, but it's a very if you go by social media and certain things like that, it's a very polarizing promo.
Well, you know, I think that no matter what Cody Rhodes comes out and does, I think there's going to be somebody that has some criticism for it. So it's just is what it is. Not just Cody Rhodes, you know, that goes for basically anybody who spends any time on national TV. I'll tell you what, Dominic, something that appeared on national TV this week that I was very shocked by. Let's get into the Young Bucks match with SCU and Christopher Daniels. I thought he gigged himself too deep or something because he was just bleeding a gusher. I was like, okay, he stuck that blade in a little too deep. But turns out it appears as though he smashed his eyebrow. He released a picture on social media where he's got a very significant black eye on his left eye and then like a really bad cut above his eyebrow. So I think he actually took the post and he got busted open the hard way.
Yeah, wow, dude, he was bleeding a lot. It was a lot. And
to the point where it was like a little bit concerning, which by the way, something else incredibly concerning happens later on. We'll touch on that. But I was like a little bit concerned about Christopher Daniels in this. But man, is that the end of his career? Do you think that Christopher Daniels is stepping down as a performer?
I think full time, like, and we won't see him for a while. I think he'll have another match if I had to bet.
I feel like if I was Christopher Daniels and like even if I was considering having another match, I might reconsider after that one because it like, you know, I don't like the Young Bucks. That was a good match. It was a good match and it was really compelling and like what a cool ending for him where it's like he was like bleeding on their shoes. He's just like he's bleeding like a stuck pig. He takes that like what do they call it where they both knee him in the face at the same time?
Oh, the BTE trigger.
Yes. So he took that as the finish, and it was just like, dude, like what, like him on his knees with both those guys like holding his arms out while he's just like bleeding, and then they both connect on him. I was like, holy smokes, what a way to end that match. So it was just a cool visual. If I were him, I'd be like, I don't know. I think I better just step down.
You know, if the storyline warrants it. So like, let's say, I don't know. This is just throwing it out there here. We talk about way down the road, one of the elite members, whether it's like just a young buck or like even Kenny or something like that. If it warrants it, like I think that you can bring Daniels back for another match, and like as long as it plays into his storyline, you know, where it's like something to that effect. But
yeah, I don't know. I disagree. I think that you go out on a visual like that. Let that be the end of your career.
Here's the thing, though, Marcus, and I was like, I wanted to see more about SCU breaking up at the end. Like, I thought we got it kind of taken away.
They went to a commercial break for
not
that.
only did they go to a commercial, but they cut to Mox and Kingston just tearing up the elite locker room. Where I'm like, I want to see how these guys react to just them breaking up. You know, this is like the end of like these guys were a tag team in TNA, were they not? So it's like, or like ROH or something. So it's like, these guys have a history, such a history, and now this is it.
We didn't get the big like hug it out moment with them, which I think was kind of a shame too. But
they showed it throughout the like, but after the commercial break, they showed it all. But it's like, dude, I want to see that. Like that's more important than a locker room getting torn up to me at this moment in time.
But again, Dominic, I'm a little bit torn. I'm like again with dude that crazy image of him like bleeding on their shoes and like having his arms pulled out where it's like, okay, he's about to get lit up by these two. Like just that image, I'm like, okay, if that's the end of his career, I'm good with not seeing the whole like hug between him and Kazarian. Like it would have been nice, yes, but
just at the end of that, that's it. That's all you saw.
I just the final image of him just like laying there in a pool of his own blood after that. It's like, dude, that's a sick way to go out. Like that's a cool way to end your career.
Ben Jones pitches here, Christopher Daniels and Daniel Bryan. Now, if Daniel Bryan came back and says he goes on a bit of a tear, how would you feel about Christopher Daniels coming out and being like, listen, I was retired. I'm done, but I want a match with you. How would you feel about that, Marcus?
No, like
No,
I want this
no.
to be the end of his career. Just like, dude, this was, I think, the best Young Bucks match I've seen in quite a while.
Wow. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Just because of the story that they told. Like, yes, they got in all their silly crap at times.
How did you like? I'm sorry to interrupt, but how did you like them mocking the Ric Flair Shawn Michaels moment at WrestleMania?
I thought it was okay. Again, you can tell that that's like some Young Buck creative, but also that's what sort of made me think that might be the end of his career. But in any case,
I wouldn't have liked it if they killed him on that.
no, that would have been ridiculous.
Yeah.
But like, if that was an accidental bleeding, which I believe it to be, like if he did not do that on purpose, like, dude, that's just like beautiful serendipity, like perfect way to end your career. Hey, so James Espanto Fernando Tegoay, what's up, buddy? Thank you for joining us again.
Yeah, thanks, James.
Thank you to all of you guys for joining us.
Yeah, it's been great so far. It's been really
Benjamin good. Jones, John Davis, Bit Milligan, all you guys. I missed one. Nick Fund, I think, is up there.
Yeah, he's the one that kicked it off.
Yeah. So, guys, all of you, thank you for joining us. Feel free to go ahead and send any questions in or comments in or whatever you want. But no, dude, like, I think it would be a good match between Daniel Bryan and Christopher Daniels. But like, fuck it, end your career right there. That's a good spot. But yeah, dude, I thought it was a really good match for the Young Bucks. And let's talk about another really good visual. Was there was a promo a little bit later on where like the Young Bucks are checking out the locker room that got screwed up, and Nick Jackson did not clean the blood off his face, so he still had Christopher Daniels' blood on his face. I was like, that's kind of awesome.
I didn't pick up that.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool. I was blown away by the Bucks. I do like this version of the Bucks better, for sure. Are they as good as they could be if they would like knock off some of their silly creative? No, they're not there yet. They need to quit it with the silly creative, and I think that they could be a lot of fun.
Mark, how do you feel about their Twitter account? I think that's one of the best things, one of the best aspects of Twitter right now.
That's another great thing that they're doing. Mm-hmm. So like the Bucks, and let me say they're trending upward. They're not my good graces yet, Dominic, but they're on their way.
Did you see their latest profile picture?
I know that their background image is a picture of Flying Brian Jr.
I'll give you a second. You go to their Twitter page right now if you're able to. And,
all right.
Take a look.
I wonder if I follow them on Twitter, Dominic. I might not, just because they annoyed me.
At Young Bucks. It's at Young Bucks.
Hang on now.
You give it a look here. But in the meantime,
that's a pretty good picture. That's a good picture, and I do follow.
You guys haven't seen it. It's of Daniels being BTE triggered.
Right.
Daniels being BTE triggered.
And dude, that image should be the end of his career.
Marcus, here's another Game of Thrones reference. It's like when the Viper dies. I'm sorry if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, but
yeah, go ahead.
It's like when the Viper gets it, you know?
Yeah,
that's what it's like.
Sure, I'm trying to remember it and I don't. But
Marcus,
I read.
You don't remember the Viper versus the Mountain?
I read the books. I don't know.
End of season 4, Marcus. It's when Tyrion needs to have a fighter fight for him after the trial, and it's trial by combat, and it's the Viper goes in to fight for him. And I
remember.
You remember? Okay, I thought you said you were trying to remember.
Well, it was escaping me for a minute, but yeah, now I do.
Okay, it's like that's like that closing image of Daniels right there. It's like it could scar you for days, man. You leave it go like that.
Yeah, dude, finish him off. Finish off his career. I think he would be a huge benefit backstage as an agent. Benjamin A. Jones. I don't do Twitter.
It's ultimately a positive thing, I think, if you don't do Twitter, because unless you have to for your job or whatever it is. So there's some fun aspects of Twitter. Don't get me wrong. I do like interacting with people. I just don't take the negativity too seriously. If you can take if you can just wash away the negativity, when sometimes that means stepping away from your phone or device, then by all means do it. But it can be fun in that regard too, if you just don't take that shit seriously. But sometimes, oh man, do people get wrapped up in Twitter?
All right, let's hammer on Dominic. I think that the next segment, actually, I'm just going to go kind of chronological from here, because it sort of works. Because I want to end on something specific, so we'll get there. How about Christian? Nice promo. I think he needs to tone down his spray tan treatment a little bit, because he was looking very dark, and it was weird. Like
Not as dark as
noticeable.
Doc Gallows, though, is he?
Maybe not, but I don't know. It kind of fits Doc Gallows, doesn't it? Where it's
Yeah,
like he's this big, like phony dude.
Wearing the dangly earring.
But yeah, so Christian, it's like I don't know. Maybe he's just enjoying that Jacksonville sun, but he was looking like a fucking hot dog out there.
Man.
But it's hey Kevin Davis, we're doing well, man. Thanks for joining us. I love the snide remarks between him and Matt Sydal. I thought that was great. They were getting like little digs in on each other.
Yeah.
And like I'm two of my favorites in the promotion. They're going to be going at it next week. It's going to be cool, man.
I know, Marcus. I was like, Marcus, did you book this match? What's going on here?
It's 100% a match that I would book if I were capable of it. But it was great. And by the way, two great competitors for the finals of the AEW Cruiserweight Championship tournament.
I don't think Christian's in the Cruiserweight division.
Why not? Why can't he be?
Because I have not envisioned him as a Cruiserweight since he was in the fucking Brood, okay?
Was La Parka a Cruiserweight in your opinion, Dominic, in WCW?
They made me believe it. They established him as one. Right now, Christian has been established as like a heavyweight for well over a decade, Marcus.
Wait, you know what would establish him as a Cruiserweight is starting a Cruiserweight title goddamn tournament, Dominic. So I hope that they do. James is saying, me too. He's not into the Twitter either. I had one, but someone kept stealing my stuff I posted there. Yeah, it's kind of a cesspool of people there.
It's a den of thieves, Twitter.
Right. It's like always being at like a carnival. Right.
And there's some people always want to find something to bitch about and do.
Mm-hmm.
And do. Like
so I kind of like Twitter just because I mostly keep to myself. And
you're just a watchful observer.
I myself am a degenerate, but yeah, I'm like what do they call it? Where it's like you don't subscribe to anything, but you just like a creeper.
Don't worry, Donnie. These men are nihilists.
No, I'm saying where like I don't subscribe to like anybody's like stuff on Twitter. I just like kind of swoop in and look. I think that you just call it a creeper, where I'm just like looking at people's stuff.
Marcus, did you see? By the way, one of the bitches of the week, the complaints of the week happened to be MJF stealing, quote unquote, stealing people's artwork and not crediting them. And then somebody wrote a column on it.
That's stupid. Look,
if you're gonna they're like, hey, credit the artist for it. Like he put this person's designs on Twitter of like that a bloody MJF. And then
I believe the artist's name is Lisa Moran. I follow her on Twitter.
Oh no, Laura Moran, you're thinking of. That's not it. The artist. That's not the artist.
Oh, she
did that Becky Lynch shirt that I have, which is awesome.
Oh, okay. Well, she's an incredible artist. If you guys are on the Twitter, give her a follow. Laura Moran.
Yeah.
She's very talented.
But no, this was like somebody was like, hey, credit the artist for doing that. And he was like, no. And
which is tremendous.
And but no, people went nuts about it. And then Cage Side Seats wrote an article saying like, no, that's stealing, blah, blah, blah. And they went on this. It was not to the level of that horrible Cody Rhodes article that we were talking about last week. But it was just like, dude, you guys are bitching about this. It was a babyface move on his part to even share those like designs.
Right. And it's great that he's saying no. Like, no, I'm not gonna give this person credit. Thing is too, like it's his likeness that this person utilized. So I feel like he can probably feel confident and satisfied in sharing a picture of him basically. So
dude, how great I mean, ultimately for him, that's great that
it couldn't have worked out better for him.
Couldn't have worked out better.
Right. For him as a heel, yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
What else was perfect, Dominic? Well, to start. I love Pac's work. Let's start on the positive. Pac's work, Dominic, is unbelievably crisp. I even wrote here, ironically, I don't think I've ever seen him botch anything. Is what I put in my notes in the middle of this match. Dude, his shotgun drop kicks just absolutely nasty. That like I love the fact that he just hit him with like 3 of them in a row. Yeah. And it was like, and Orange, I got it to his credit, he was like selling it perfectly, where he's like basically like ragdolling across the ring every time he's getting nailed with one, like looking like he got shot by a shotgun.
Yeah.
And dude, but let's just jump into it though. That we started on a positive, dude. Scary moment with that Liger bomb.
Oh man, I didn't see it like the landing. Because I was like, okay, he hits a bomb, and I immediately like looked down and went.
So it's not like he landed on top of his head, but like he landed it like high on his shoulders, and you could just tell that his head just bounced off the mat. So it's like it just like the whiplash effect where it's like his head just hit really hard. And like I know that feeling. I know that you know that feeling because it happened to you once, but I know that feeling too. And it's just like it feels like all of your sinuses just get cleared immediately all at once. And it's like your eyes water and it's like instant headache. It's just the worst feeling in the world to have that happen to you. But dude, it was a little bit frightening to see that. It was a good idea to cover up the injury. I think that they called an audible.
It was a very clever audible.
Right.
I thought they'd like, to just take a commercial break, and then have Don Callis come out there on the mic, cut a brief promo, have Kenny be on the mic for a little bit, give some time, and then ultimately lead it up to like them rooting the match. And then, it was a really good audible. I thought that they did. And
I think so too. They did a good job. Also, they did have a fortuitous commercial break. I don't know if that was intended or not, but I felt like it was just time for a picture-in-picture shortly after that, so it worked out really well. But that was one of those injuries, man, where it's like you instantly knew that there was something wrong because like Pac, he didn't look like Pac all of a sudden. Like his facade went away, and you could see a little concern on his face, and he was like. It was basically hands off of him and he was just like taunting the crowd, which is like, it was one of those injuries where it's like, okay, instantly you see that something's wrong. I'm glad that Orange is okay. And nice cover up. Good job by AEW there.
Yeah. And I thought too that I don't know. I don't think there's an update exactly what happened with him. Like if it was like a concussion or a neck, something we do have, according to PW Insider, that he's doing well and is in good spirits following that scary spot that happened. So
I believe who was it? Sean Ross Sapp had said that he had heard the backstage that he was okay.
Yeah, and he also reported too that the original finish was supposed to be the pair fighting to a 20-minute draw.
Okay, well, I mean,
the goal was always to have them be in the turn it into a triple threat match.
What a good cover up. So everything worked out really well. James, thank you for sharing our Twitter information. As always, you're awesome, man. You can follow Dominic at Dominic DeAngelo. You can follow me at Marcus P. DeAngelo. You can also follow our other podcast, which is at WCW Rewritten, which is a tremendous podcast. And you can follow WrestleZone at WrestleZone.com. And you can follow this podcast at number 2 Dynamite Dudes.
Yep.
All right. Dominic, I like the old school heat segment with Pinnacle, MJF coming out with his crown and they had pretty girls there, which is just like that kind of hits like some of the old school like nerves where it's just basically like these guys love themselves and they got these hot girls with them and
Flair doing that like
just like hateable heels. I did think that the whole bubbly spray was incredibly derivative of WWF and Stone Cold.
I agree.
I was just like, come on.
That's where I took exception to it. I liked everything up until that point. Like I liked the promo. I liked Tully going ape wild on there and fucking like giving everybody Rolexes and stuff.
Dude, Tully was out there working up a damn sweat.
Dude, he was fired up.
he was coming in hot.
Man. He was ready to give somebody a slingshot suplex if anybody's
I know. He came in very intense.
But yeah, man, like I just thought that I was like intrigued because like before they had that promo too, where Sammy's like, it's not going to turn into a coronation. It's going to turn into a funeral if you don't accept a rematch. So you're expecting something pretty intense to happen. And what do we get? But like, just like a rehash of Stone Cold's beer truck, but it's like
Milkomania
dream.
Right. And it's, I assume it was bubbly.
It was bubbly. They were hosing him down with bubbly.
That's right.
And, also, I don't know if you were going to talk about this, but like Jericho was kicked off the fucking cage last week, and here he is. He's back.
Well, his arm was like in a thing.
His arm was there, yeah. But I mean, like, wouldn't you want him to see gone for like a week? Or I know they're trying to build the Double or Nothing quick enough, but
and I agree. And thing is, I hated the whole like bubbly bath thing. But if you're gonna do it, give Jericho a week off and then bring him back and then have him do the bubbly thing. I like again, I don't like that idea. Just because it is super derivative of WWF. But like, if you're going to do it, then do it that way. Give Jericho a week off and then have him come back and like get a little revenge. But yeah, I thought that was silly. Sort of ruined a good segment, in my opinion.
yeah, I was kind of expecting, I don't know, because like, okay, you have this bloodbath, literal bloodbath of like a match the week before, and then it turns into like, knee slapping comedy segment almost at the end of it, where it's just, I would have liked something else to kind of happen, whether it was like, you pull a thing out of the hat where, I mean, I wasn't a fan of this angle back when it happened, but when Stone Cold kidnapped Scott Hall and like you have like Santana or somebody, or Santana's arrested, which I thought was kind of a cool thing to do. But like you have like maybe Ortiz go on like this, like none of the Inner Circle can find Ortiz. Hey, where's Ortiz at? Like Santana's arrested, Jericho's out. Where's Ortiz? You have him fucking get hold of like Sean Spears or Dax or Cash, and like he's like threatening him. Like that's your fire back for that match.
I think you're on track, but how about this? How about like Ortiz? It kind of goes off the rails, but he grabs MJF and he's got him in like a chair, like a wheelchair, kind of like the Scott Hall thing. But when he wheels him into a private room, who's standing in there waiting after a week off? But Chris Jericho.
That's not bad. That's not
Yeah.
bad. But this is what I kind of like this, because it gives, if you just make it Ortiz like kidnapping one of them and then being like it's just him, because and then he puts the pressure on them. Hey, listen, we do want a rematch. If you don't give us a rematch, I want Stadium Stampede, and then have them do that, and then MJF fires back. You want a Stadium Stampede? Fine, but if we beat you, we're breaking you up. And that's like the stipulation there. And then when you have Ortiz do it instead of like somebody like Jericho, who's already established, you're establishing Ortiz to another level too. Like where it's like, okay, wow, dang, Ortiz is a man on his own too. He's great as a tag team with Santana, but here he is doing his own thing right here. I kind of like that.
Hey, I think that there's a variety of options and good ideas too, Dominic. I was sitting here kind of thinking, like, what could they do if they need to pour bubbly on somebody, if they want to get their bubbly thing in? They already did the orange juice falling from the ceiling. Obviously, we've all already seen the hosing people with beer or milk or whatever. But like the Scott Hall thing is kind of like a forgotten moment where he's like getting the beer poured on him, which, by the way, was stupid and a shitty angle, especially because Scott Hall was a recovering alcoholic at the time and he had a bad reaction to it, apparently. Because the beer, it touched his skin, and he was on a drug called Anabuse.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Right, he was on a drug called Anabuse, where it's like basically if you ingest alcohol in any way, it makes you sick. Well, he ingested it through his pores, and he got incredibly sick following that segment. So it was a silly thing to do, but if you're going to do something like that, I think it could have worked here.
Yeah, like or even had like the Ortiz pull like, well, I'm just gonna use like Cash as the example, pull Cash and like dump his head in an ice bucket full of the bubbly or something like that, and
Sure.
like that kind of thing where it's like almost like a fucking like episode of 24. Jack Bauer doing some shit.
Absolutely. Dominic, I have one more thing I want to talk about, then we can get into our ratings and our MVPs. And that, of course, Dominic, is is my favorite in the world, Dominic, Thunder Rosa. It was just a squash match. But the thing is that Thunder Rosa, it's like we've said before, and actually we were just talking about Scott Hall. He has famously said that anytime you're on TV, it's basically a commercial for you. So go out there and sell yourself. Right. And he's right. Anytime you're featured on national television, you're just promoting you. So you're trying to position yourself in the best way you possibly can. And dude, Thunder Rosa is like the master of that. She goes out there, and every time that red light comes on, she's just like, she is on point. She is as good as it gets. Like her vicious drop kicks that she does to people.
Dude, I was like, damn, the one she did. Holy smokes.
Stiff working style, but like it just believable, old school, and just unbelievably talented. Like, dude, if what she does is a commercial, it's like a Super Bowl commercial, like as good a commercial as you can possibly get.
And you know what I really liked too? It was heelish of her, but it was cool. Was like that she had the count, and then she pulls Jasmine lowers head up or shoulders up and just like wags her finger, and I was like, it's cool body language right there. It's like badass shit,
dude. She gets it, and she gets it more than I think honestly anybody. So I don't remember the last time I saw somebody who got it as well, like Stone Cold. That's pretty much,
and like it's her own thing too. It's like that's a Thunder Rosa thing. It's like not somebody else that she's pulling from or anything like that. It's her own. That's her own identity, which is neat too. Like something like Stone Cold would do, something like The Rock would do. It's like it's putting themselves into the spotlight and embracing that and like showing their persona up to 11.
And dude, name all the best women, like female wrestlers, even modern ones. Like how about Becky Lynch and her shtick? How about Charlotte Flair and her thing? The list goes on and on with like all these really talented people.
Banks, Bailey.
Yes, all these unbelievably talented female performers. And Thunder Rosa just blows them all out. Just like head and shoulders better than all of them. And that's not me slighting any of those girls by any means. I think that they're all really talented. But like, if I'm in a store and I'm trying to buy what one of these girls is selling, I'm buying 10 Thunder Rosas.
Well, dude, no, dude, it was great, and heck, that was a nod to Mission Pro because both of them were at the Mission Pro show that I reviewed for the website, and you can check that out on WrestleZone, by the way.
Check it out on WrestleZone. Go back and check out the episode where Dominic and I actually had the honor of interviewing Thunder Rosa, which was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Such a nice person. And like I said, the best in the world at what she does.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So Dominic, let's go ahead and close this out. Do you want to do
a couple more things, Mark, real quick?
Oh, jump in by all means.
There's a few things here. How about Britt Baker's promo, man? That was real good.
Oh, how did I miss that, Dominic? That was a good promo. That was a really good promo. She did, again, she's another one who's really utilizing her minutes to the best of her abilities, and having JR there to kind of give her the rub, it certainly helps. This is inevitable to me that she is going to beat Cheetah. So I think that she's going to become the champion, but then I think what might happen here is that Thunder Rosa is going to secure the AEW or the NWA championship. And then it's like, okay, let's get these two in the ring again.
Yeah. Well, not only that, Marcus, Britt Baker's promo was great. And she's somebody that knows herself too, where it's like, okay, that's her thing. And Britt Baker's Britt Baker. It's like, and we're getting, if you're tuning into wrestling for the first time in a while, you're getting to know who this Britt Baker is, and you're able to either relate or hate with or both with Britt Baker. But like what that leads to is the return of Serena Deeb. They got that coming back next week, Marcus.
Yep.
Oh, who is she facing though? She's putting the title on the line against somebody. Can't remember who the match.
I don't recall.
Red Velvet.
That's it. That is it. Red Velvet.
A great match.
What an incredible match it's going to be. Not only because Red Velvet is already really talented, but Serena Deeb, I mean, like she squeezes every drop out of everybody that she's in the ring with. She gets the best out of everybody. So, dude, I'm pumped up that Serena's coming back. Man, what a women's division in AEW right now.
I know, and that's how I was gonna what else I was gonna say too. We just had a brief promo with Jade Cargill again, and no reveal as to who's gonna manage her yet. You had your boy Mark Sterling show up there for a little bit, but it doesn't look like he's gonna win the bid there. Is she gonna fly solo, or are we gonna get a manager for Jade?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of hope she stays solo. I think that her promos ability is improving. I was kind of beating the drum of like, hey, get her a mouthpiece. But much like Miro, it's like I feel like she's getting better all the time. But I don't know. Maybe a manager isn't the worst thing in the world for her. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Vicky would have been the best maybe for this point because like Vicky's there, but we don't see her. We haven't seen Nyla Rose in a while either, and so and I think Nyla Rose almost doesn't need a manager. So I'd almost be like, okay, like make Nyla Rose go on her own road and, be like this monstrous solo act and then have Vicky just go over to Jade Cargill. And then heck, dude, you could set up like I don't know how maybe they're a little too, they're still like green at this point to face one another, but you can have them kind of feud in one way or form or fashion, those two.
Heck, what if Brian Cage leaves Team Taz and he's replaced with Jade?
Yeah, that too. That's a good point. That's a really good point because Taz is always on recruiting, and like from not only a storyline perspective, but from an actual perspective, who wouldn't want Jade Cargill on their team,
No question about it.
Yeah, man, that's a good point. Good point. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to do the ratings? Is that what you want to do next? No, or MVPs? What do you want to do first? Or do you have something else you want to add?
No, dude, that's it. Let's get my rating out of the way, and then we can just do our MVPs. Dominic, good episode this week. Really good episode. So I'm going to give it a solid 7.8 this week.
High for you, yeah.
Yeah, dude, they've been cranking out some really good stuff. Really enjoyed Cody's promo. Really, obviously enjoyed every single thing that Thunder Rosa does. And I think most especially that main event, dude, it was on point, and it was unexpected. Well, not most especially, for crying out loud. How about Yuji Nagata and Jon Moxley?
Yeah,
so that may have been like the highlight of the show. James is saying 7.7, pretty close to my score. Not bad.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, just top to bottom, a good show. We got a great Young Bucks match with an incredible visual in it. So like, dude, maybe 7.8 is low. I don't know. It was a really good show.
Yeah, I don't think I was high on it as you were, but it was a good show. Like, I think the one thing that really tripped me up was just the bubbly hose segment. That was it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it started out like a pretty decent segment, and then sort of went off the rails. Darby Allin's little pre-tape thing was great.
Oh, that was so awesome! Like, we didn't even touch upon that too much, but I thought that was boom. That was awesome. Like, it was so, like, from a not just a visual perspective, but just how he said everything too was really well done, and just further established him. Yeah, Marcus, I'm saying it right now. I think Darby is the top 3 babyface in all of wrestling.
Yeah, he doesn't edge out Cody, but he's certainly in the conversation. James said a little bit earlier, been watching Dark and Elevation. I definitely agree that AEW's women division is growing in leaps and bounds. Would love to see Jordan Grace be added to the roster. No doubt about it. How about Mickie James, dude?
Yeah, man.
There's a lot of talented girls out there. So like,
even just you pull from the AEW Dark pool and you pull from MPW Mission Pro.
Yep.
There's a lot of talented women you can just get there and establish some new ones. But hell, yeah, I think Mickie James is somebody they should really, really pursue.
Imagine her and Serena Deeb tying it up.
Yeah, man, it's perfect.
You could go so many directions. Imagine her and Jade Cargill tying it up.
Yeah, like there's so many. Her and Thunder Rosa. It's just like so many.
Oh, it'd be unbelievable. Hey, Earl also mentioned something, and we definitely need to touch on this. Rest in peace, New Jack. What a shame. Gone too soon for sure. Controversial figure in wrestling for sure. I think that a lot of people disliked him, but the thing is that was what he wanted. He was as heel as it gets. Started out with his gimmick in like a very southern territory, Smoky Mountain with Jim Cornette. Like, you want to talk about getting some heat, he was getting it. And underrated promo, underrated talent. I think that a lot of his like extracurriculars and the violence aspect of his ring work kind of outshined the actual really good worker that he was.
Paul Heyman did a little tribute to him on Talking Smack here, and it was really good too. He just talked about like, who New Jack was basically, and like he was like, I was hoping that when I heard the news that New Jack was just pulling a fast one on everybody and just trying to make some money off of it, and like having people read his obituary because that's who New Jack was, and he's like, New Jack was the gangster of all of us ECW gangsters is basically what he said, and
absolutely.
So yeah. No, man, dude, like, I have a buddy, casual wrestling fan, but like, when we talk wrestling, he brings up New Jack. New Jack's his guy, was his guy. And what's crazy is when I learned about New Jack passing, I was with him and I was like, dude, New Jack, he passed. And he was like, what? And so crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's awful to lose anybody that young.
58. That's it. Hard.
What a shame, dude. What a shame. Uber talented guy, uber talented promo. And I think the wrestling world definitely lost a good one. And here's the thing too. This is the last thing I'll say about New Jack. If you want to say anything else, by all means. But the last thing I'll say about him is this, and that's that, like, these pro wrestlers, they come out and sort of the objective is to come out and get a strong reaction one way or the other. Whether it's cheering or booing, you just don't want to be anywhere in between. And New Jack was never anywhere in between. Like, if you want to talk about eliciting heat, eliciting boos, eliciting reactions, man, maybe nobody was better than New Jack.
Dude, like, well, you look in ECW too. When he had his babyface run, quote unquote babyface run, he was over too, big time. Like, he was the guy you'd come out and you would not want to fuck with New Jack.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, it was believable. Like, he seemed like the kind of guy, like, where, like, if you met him on the streets of Philadelphia after one of the shows, it's like you'd probably want to kind of mind your manners.
I read something on Twitter. I can't remember who shared the story, but like there was something like somebody was, trying to get heat in the match and something like interfering and stuff. And New Jack did a run and the guy legit shit his pants because he did not want to deal with New Jack.
So what's weird, and this might say everything you need to know about New Jack, is that I 100% believe that story to be true.
Yeah.
This is my first time ever hearing it, and I believe it. James is saying my favorite match of his is the Gangstas versus Samoan Gangster Party, which was 3-minute warning. Yeah, I mean, like, I think that, if you have the opportunity to go back and watch a lot of what he did in Smoky Mountain, because Jim Cornette was a big fan of his and pushed him and, like, kind of brought out some of the best in him before he just turned into, like, this hardcore guy. It was like, no, he was a wrestler and he was very good at getting heat. Go back and watch the Dark Side of the Ring on New Jack. It's really fascinating.
I still need to watch that. So
it's good. So I won't give you any spoilers, but man, it's like that dude knew how to get heat. And he was a lot of fun to watch. Rest in power, rest in peace. It's a shame to see him go so young.
There you go. Yeah, play Natural Born Killers and is on. You know what? I might squeeze that in at the end of this podcast. Not the aired episode here, but if you tune into the podcast, I'll close it out with New Jack's theme. How's that sound?
I love it. Dominic, who's your MVP?
Boy, that's the tough one this week. I can give it between 4 people, honestly. But you know what? I think the obvious choice is Miro, right? Like, winning the title, they have him positioned in the right way. It's a good way. It was a good way to close off the show. Yeah, I think they did not damage Darby whatsoever by him losing like that. They showed, like, the fighting spirit that he had. And, like, Miro is just this force now that's gonna run roughshod all over anybody that goes for the TNT title. So I'm giving it to Miro this week. Who's your MVP, Mark?
I was edging in the same direction toward you with Miro, just because it was a significant match, and, like, we're finally getting to see the version of Miro that we want to see. But I have to give it to Yuji Nagata, Dominic. He came out there and he hung with the young guys and kind of outdid a lot of them. It was cool getting to see a guy like him, a veteran, at work, and just see, like, he knew where to be, when to be there. He knew which camera was on at which time. Like, he's smart. He's really smart. And, for a guy his age to work the way that he did, just chef's kiss.
Beautiful. You got the Rocky fight up walk too. Like,
Yep. Beautiful performance. Like, just seeing him come from backstage and the camera following him and the look on his face as it was happening. It's like, this dude's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, dude. It was such an awesome opener. I think, boy, it's so hard to make a decision what match was better. If it was the opener or the ending match, both bookends. It was great bookend matches for Dynamite this week. So
yep, and a lot of great stuff in between, man. A lot of great stuff. So, like I said, I don't know, maybe my 7.7 is low. Now that I'm thinking about it,
I was critical. I did just the only thing that weighed it down for me was the bubbly moment. That was it.
Yeah, I would say that's about it. And that's about it for us this week, Dominic. Again, you can follow me at Marcus P. DeAngelo on Twitter. You can follow this podcast at 2 Dynamite Dudes. You can also follow our other podcast at WCW Rewritten. Check out WCW Rewritten whenever you guys get the chance, because it's been a lot of fun, and I'm really starting to crank up the intensity here. Dominic, go ahead, get your shit in.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Dominic DeAngelo. Did you say the WrestleZone stuff already?
No, I didn't say WrestleZone.com.
Okay, yeah, follow WrestleZone.com. Follow WrestleZone on Twitter at WrestleZone.com. Go to WrestleZone.com for all your wrestling news needs. What do we have up on the site at the moment? We have an interview with Big Cass, I believe. Well, not Big Cass anymore. W. Morrissey, who will be fighting Willie Mack, my boy Willie Mack, at Impact Under Siege tonight. As we're talking, I think that's going on. And then I interviewed Les Thatcher for an hour and a half. That is not up yet, but there is a little preview where he gives some details behind his development of the Brian Pillman Memorial events that he put on back in the late 90s, which were one of a kind, never probably to be duplicated again, because like there were all the promotions wrestling on the same card, and he talks about that. And then Meet the Wrestler episode 5 will be coming out with none other than Will Allday, who happens to fight, who lost to Miro, the new TNT champion on AEW Elevation. So I talked to him. A really great conversation we have. That'll be hopefully coming up, I think, this week. But stay tuned for that. I know I'm missing a few more interviews, but there's a lot of good stuff we got kicking up on there. And yeah, we do an ROH podcast. We've done Colin Tessier does all the post episodes such as Raw and SmackDown and the NXT. So he's all over the grid there. So be sure to give that a check out. And yeah, so we got a lot of good stuff cooking up on WrestleZone. Always, yeah, check in there, and we got you covered. We do a pretty damn good job at it, to say the least. We've been around for 20 years, so hell, we better do a good job, right? So there you go.
James, thanks for the compliment. We appreciate you joining us all the time. We appreciate all of you guys joining us here live for Two Dynamite Dudes. And we will catch you guys next week. Appreciate it. By all means, you can reach out to us on Twitter or Facebook or wherever. Ask any questions you guys want. We will address them on the show.
Talk some trash to us.
We don't care. Go ahead.
If you want to throw some digs at Marcus, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, bring it in, or bring it on, rather. And I'm getting tired, Dominic, getting a little punchy. So let's go ahead and call it a night for this episode of Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitude. Guys, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.